Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Kitchen talk. Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Kitchen talk. Let's talk. Conversations that cool. Kitchen talk. Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Kitchen talk. Let's talk. Conversations that cool. Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Let's talk. What you wanna talk about?
Hey.
What's going on?
Not much. How y'all doing?
All right. Gonna learn today.
Absolutely. Listen, it is Kitchen Talk CTC.
Conversations that cook.
That's what they do. Welcome. So excited to be back after the summer. Needed that little break. And now we back in the kitchen with the Marvin Scotts. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. I am not sure where my other two guys are, but hey,
they on the way.
We're gonna make it do what it do.
Yes.
And we are here with our lovely Tanya Tatum. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
She has definitely been keeping us in the know.
Right.
Keeping us in the know about what is going on.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
She frozen?
Yeah, she froze a little bit there.
We're going to try.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, she froze again.
I'm back. Okay, thanks. I'm going to keep
Hey, listen,
yes.
You can't freeze because we don't know enough about it now. You
right. So, okay, this is the first question. Are we still in a pandemic?
Yes, we are.
It does not look like it.
Isn't that we don't act like it?
We don't act like it. Yeah.
We don't act like it. Well, if we're not acting like it, then it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of cases, a lot right now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been hearing it pop up a little more again. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I got COVID.
Are the deaths still the same? The number of deaths occurring due to COVID is still the same?
We're actually seeing fewer deaths than we had before. However, Florida is leading the nation in hospitalizations and deaths due to COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we don't see that in the news.
It's not in the news anymore.
Yeah, we don't see that.
A lot of states aren't reporting like this. Our only reports every couple of weeks to the feds. And with so many people doing home test kits, excuse me, that doesn't get reported at all. So whatever you do see in the reports, the actual numbers are, considerably higher.
Because those are the people who probably had to really go to the doctor to say something ain't right.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So on that line, let me ask this question. Then, do you think giving everyone home test kits was a plus or a minus?
Honestly, I think it was a plus because we didn't have the infrastructure during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic. We didn't have the service sector, healthcare sector. We didn't have enough resources to test everybody, to be honest. So yeah, home test kits were like incredibly important because it was spread so easily and you wanted to, make sure you weren't spreading to family members and others. So that was important. It's just that, we come up with a solution to a problem, but we don't think further down the road as to what those other implications it have for what our solution was. And so what we're finding now is that we just don't have the same data. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It skews the numbers. And
Hmm.
then also it gives people, for whatever reason, give people a false sense of confidence that, oh, I'll just take the test. Like that's going to be the cure.
Or they don't understand how the test work. And I know a lot
Right.
of people will find out that they got exposed to somebody that day at work. They'll go home and take a test and it's negative. So it's like, oh, I'm negative. It's good. I'm good. Whereas if you just had that exposure, it might be 3 or 4 days before you might get a positive test.
Right.
And so I always, when people do home tests, I always really encourage them, even if they're not symptomatic, if they know they had an exposure, to retest again in 2 to 3 days.
Mhm.
So technically, we still kind of should be doing the same things we were doing when we first got started.
I don't think not to the degree that we were doing. I mean,
Okay.
remember we had the markers on the floors, make sure you're 6 feet away
Yeah.
and everything. I don't think um, we need to take that level of precautions. However, I am encouraging folks to mask up when they know they're around other people or in large crowds. Um, I don't typically meet with anybody in my office and close the door.
Mm.
Um, and like I work in a clinic, and so we have people coming in all day long. And so I encourage my staff to mask up. I said, we got all kinds of people coming in here all day. Either they're coming for the clinic or they're coming for the food pantry. Either way, you're just exposed to a large number of people.
Mhm.
And so I encourage them to mask up. So I think that's probably the one thing that I would strongly recommend to folks. And then also to take a test. Um, Home test, I mean, they'll do some of the job, but if you start to have symptoms, test. At least do that.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like taking tests because I don't want to fail.
You know what?
I like
I
people to think
can't.
I like for people to think I'm smart. So I try to avoid tests at all at any chance I can.
The smart thing to do is take the test. That's the smart
Oh,
thing.
that's
Yeah, yeah.
but I was,
Well,
but I don't, I don't want to be negative though.
well, but if you're
You
having
do want to
symptoms,
be negative.
yeah, we want to be negative on this one. This one I want to flunk. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I want to be
Yeah.
all the way negative.
I want to be negative on this one, all the way negative.
All the
Yeah.
way negative.
But I encounter a lot of people that aren't feeling good. Oh, I figured it was the flu. It's August. We're not really seeing flu circulating right now, but I thought I had the flu, or it's my allergies, or all kinds of things that people think it might be. So they'll go to work feeling bad, then go home, then decide to go out and get tested, and call in the next day. Oh yeah, by the way, I got COVID.
So just like before we knew COVID was here, we are kind of back to that. Because I remember when we used to try to get people not to come to work, if you did have a cold, please don't come to work. Don't
Hmm.
come and bring your cooties.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about that is when COVID wasn't here, people come up with every excuse they can not to come to work,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden now COVID hit, and it's like you got to make people stay home. It's,
I'd rather you stay home for the day, test, and then let me know and say, well, it's negative. I'm still not feeling good. I'm gonna be out another day, and then I'll be back in. I'm
Mhm.
okay. Take care of yourself, and I think that's
Yeah.
important. But you know, like I said, I always encourage people to retest if they got a negative test result, just to make sure, because the home test kits um, aren't as sensitive, and they only pick up positives when it's really positive, like you're in the middle of the infection. So
Mm.
So
we
it's
don't.
possible to still be positive, but
Mhm.
the test didn't pick it up.
Right. if it's early in the infectious process, yeah, you could be infectious and have COVID, and a rapid test wouldn't show it. And we don't have the same access to PCR tests as we did before. Like
Oh,
now, you'd have to call your doctor. They'd have to order the test for you and send you to the lab to get tested because your doctor's office doesn't want you walking in either if you think you have COVID. They're like, no, here, I'll call in the order. You go to LabCorp or somewhere else. Yeah.
oh wow.
So let me ask this question on that same line then. So is Paxlovid really as effective as they say it is?
Um, it is certainly effective for a number of people. I won't say it is for everybody, but it's there are individuals that they recommend that they do the Paxlovid. Individuals that are older, that may have other underlying health conditions, or that have a very serious or um, really symptomatic case, because it can help eliminate or alleviate some of the symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
so that the course of disease it goes a little faster.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, what is
I was
Paxlovid?
just thinking that.
Paxlovid is
I've
the
seen
only
the commercials.
medication out there that that the physicians are using to prescribe for folks with COVID. Unless you're in the hospital, if you're hospitalized, there are other things they might use, but
Mm,
Paxlovid is it. That's the only thing that's out there.
Yeah, it's a oral medication
Hmm.
that people take for early exposure to
Hmm.
COVID. So it's like the moment you get the signs and symptoms, or the moment it's at that point in time, you want to go get tested. If you test positive, the later you wait, the less effective it is. It's almost like they have pills that sometimes they'll give you if you have the flu. But again,
mm.
it's only effective if you take within the first 24 to 48 hours. After that, you just popping pills.
Yeah, you stay home for 4 days and then call your doctor. They're not going to prescribe it because it doesn't work at that point.
Right.
It's not. It's you're spending your money for nothing.
So again, so for those individuals who, well, I'm gonna wait and see, and if I don't get better, then that's too late. The
Hmm.
moment you start feeling bad is the moment, or the moment you realize, okay, something's wrong, is the moment you need to get tested. And then if you fall into a certain category, then Paxlovid is an oral medication that a physician can prescribe for you to help
Yeah,
um, decrease the symptoms and effects of COVID.
yeah, and
But a virus, but it just still has to kind of run its course, I guess.
Well,
mhm,
yeah, because it's not necessarily killing the viruses per se. You know,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
it
so
doesn't work against the virus.
yeah, it's not an antiviral. So the virus still has to run its course, and most viruses are self limiting. Most, not all.
what does that mean?
After so many days, um, it if it hadn't killed you, it'll die off.
Oh,
Yeah, I usually anybody that has like any kind of autoimmune disorder, diabetic, anybody with heart disease, any fashion, some of the more typical illnesses that we'll see, I always recommend that they follow up with their physician and just if nothing else, call them, tell them I tested positive for COVID. I'm either having symptoms, typically, I'll recommend if they're not having symptoms, there's really kind of no need to call their physician. But if they are symptomatic or if they do have a significant health history, I always recommend that they call their physician for advice and to see if they would recommend that they take Paxlovid.
mm. So before there was, and it might have been Paxlovid, we just didn't know what the name of it was. Because I had COVID twice. The second time, I immediately called my doctor when I tested positive, and she sent me to a pharmacy to pick up something. I don't even remember what she called it. but they were, it was a medicine that I had to take.
That's
Um,
probably what it was.
oh, okay. I just
Yeah.
the commercial wasn't out yet.
Right.
There wasn't a commercial
It
then, yeah.
wasn't a commercial at that point in
Yeah, the
time.
commercial wasn't out yet.
Yeah, there
But
was another medication that was available, and I'm trying to remember honestly what it was,
Was
but
it Retinavir?
yes, and they're not using those any longer.
Right.
There are a couple of them that they're no longer using. They're not effective with the strains that we have now, so they're just not using them any
so
longer.
how many are y'all counting? Like how many what strand are we on?
Um, there have been almost 100 different strains of COVID. A lot.
150?
No, not 150. I
Oh,
said almost 100.
almost a
Wow.
hundred.
There have been a lot, a lot.
Woo! It's Friendly Moist.
Hey, friends.
Now, friends, we ain't at the same house. Nah. And
Oh,
I love the picture.
y'all do look like y'all had the exact same house, sitting in the exact same space. How y'all
it,
Great,
did that?
great
yeah,
minds think alike.
yeah,
Great
yeah.
minds think alike.
That's
Happy
an
Thursday.
alpha mindset.
Th- eh,
Oh gosh.
Oh
Yes,
man.
sir. Miss
So
Wow.
Tatum, good to see you.
It's good to see you too. How are you today?
I'm working on greater. I know you are back on the job full force.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm.
It's getting
so
busy.
so let me ask this question because this is on my mind, right? So, um, they're recommending, some are recommending the what is it, a booster, and the state of Florida just stated that um, we're not going to recommend it. And I guess the Surgeon General for the state of Florida is citing some reference that don't need a booster, so they're not recommending the booster for Florida.
Basically, you're right. It's actually a new vaccine. So it's not necessarily a booster, it's a new vaccine. It's on a new strain of the virus that's out there. Um, and yes, the Surgeon General for the state of Florida and the governor for the state of Florida are both together recommending that anybody under 65 not get it.
Do they
Did
have
they
any
say why?
reason?
Um, if I can
Now,
quote
look,
the
well,
governor
let me
who
say this
didn't
before you get
want,
started. Let me say this before you get started. Listen, you got to keep your job. Don't
oh
let
yeah,
us don't let us push you to say something.
no,
Just
you're
wink your eye. If no, but don't let us have you say something. Wait till you're ready to leave, and then you can say what you want to say. Right now, you ain't got
so
to say it. I'll say it for you.
no, actually, I can say because there's some things they've put in writing. I can, they feel that it wasn't studied enough, and they said that the clinical trials lacked evidence of benefit or efficacy, and that the governor said that he would not allow the FDA and the CDC to use Florida residents as guinea pigs.
But
Yeah,
he can.
yeah. And I guess my thing is this: at some point, I how can I say this? I appreciated a time when, as America, we didn't put our health before politics.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And right now, everything is catering to a specific base. Um,
Everything's
Wait, did you
political.
say that in the right way? You say we didn't put our health before politics?
we didn't put politics before our
Politics
health.
before our health. Okay.
Right. It was what was best for America. Both parties agreed. What was best for our health. Both parties agreed. Now, when it came to certain things like spending or whatever, and then we got different ideas on how we're going to accomplish a goal or a balanced budget and all that different stuff, right? But
Hmm.
you can't use stuff. this political stuff. I mean, use this COVID and all this stuff to back and launch your political campaign and your policies. At some point, I mean, I think this is a thing. As Americans, we need to know and understand that technology has brought us so far,
Mhm.
right? Now, we know less about 5G than we know about new vaccines that's being created. Because
Mhm.
vaccines, we have old vaccines. We've been building on this process for years.
Mhm.
But we'll run out and get a new piece of technology, but then we'll say this vaccine has not been studied.
Yeah.
You know, so in at the end of the day, and then we stop reporting the numbers. We're going back to what President Trump wanted. Oh, I wish you wouldn't report the numbers. Why? Because now you could downplay it, so people really don't know that
Mm.
COVID is still really
Right.
it's still really a problem.
Mhm. And
You
it's
know,
particularly a problem here in Florida. I mean, and I think unfortunately our leadership isn't sharing appropriate information. I'll just be, I'll be honest, and they're not sharing appropriate information. They have a political agenda and it's getting in the way. I'm not going to say that everybody should run out and go get the vaccine. I will
right?
say that everybody should consult with their healthcare provider and
Mm-hmm.
decide whether the vaccine is something you need to get or not.
Right.
Okay.
But
I
it
mean,
should
I
not be
think,
off the table. It's that
right,
should be a conversation between you and
right.
your healthcare provider, or
Yes,
um,
exactly. I mean, because for some people, it's certainly more appropriate. There are individuals that are under the age of 65 that have other issues or have never been exposed and never gotten COVID. They would be a primary candidate to get the vaccine. They have no immunity to it. Individuals who have had previously had the vaccines or had one or two courses of COVID already, that might be a different conversation depending on their age and their health status. They may or they may not recommend them to get the vaccine. I don't know. But just to put a blanket statement out there, you know, the government's using you as guinea pigs is just that's really tragic because we can lose a lot of lives because of that.
Yeah.
Well, that I like your statement in terms of consult with your healthcare provider because everybody is not in the same boat. So it may affect one person a different
Mhm.
way than it affects another person. As you stated, there's people
Yeah.
who have other, you know, conditions that they need to be mindful of on how this, you know, drug and how COVID may affect them moving forward. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of moving parts.
Hmm.
yeah,
But to give a blanket statement like that, it takes me back to Tuskegee. They didn't say that when Tuskegee was going on. Oh, I'm not gonna go there tonight, Lisa.
Well,
I'm
but
no.
not. I'm
Here's
not.
my question. So, what makes it now different from the beginning? Get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. Now you're saying, you may or may not need to be.
Well, remember when I said, depending upon individuals, you may have already been infected,
Mm-hmm.
you would have developed some level of immunity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Not totally, but if you've had COVID 3 times, you may have a better chance of fighting it off than somebody else who's never had it before. And individuals that have had the vaccine already or multiple doses of the vaccine, on top of possibly having COVID, they may feel like, and their provider may feel like, oh, you're 33, you've had COVID twice, and you've had 2 vaccines. Yeah, you probably don't need this next one. It just depends, and it depends on what variant is circulating and whether or not they think the new vaccine will be effective against it. And then, like I said, what that health status is for that individual and their previous exposure to COVID. So Remember in the very beginning, this was a virus the human population had never been exposed to before.
Hmm.
We've had 3.5 years now of COVID. So a lot of people have been exposed to it. So our levels of immunity, whether it's cellular immunity or something else, it's different than
So
what it
now,
was in 2020.
so now we're not getting the COVID vaccine just like you get the flu shot every year. Are they saying that we don't have to get it every year like you get the flu shot?
Well, I am. Okay. Tanya is. But Tanya is an
If
individual who's over 65, who's got several autoimmune disorders. So, yeah, those are things I'm going to do to make sure I stay okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So so if we go back and like Miss Tatum was saying, if we go back to the very beginning, right? Um, if we would have, possibly did what we were supposed to do in the beginning, you know, take those 2 weeks or whatever, close down, everybody stay in, potentially, you know, it's like if the virus is self-limiting, whoever has the virus, they have it, but they're quarantined. And if everybody quarantined for those 2 weeks, then technically, we see less of the virus, right? And then we started moving out, everybody's going out, and then we talked about getting vaccinated because we're like, if enough people get vaccinated, then we'll get herd immunity,
Hmm.
where there's enough people who have the vaccine who are protected so that by sheer number we can kind of get around it. Where we're at a place now where everybody's either had the vaccine or had COVID.
hmm,
So you're at a place now where COVID is still here because we didn't do anything to get rid of COVID. It's
Hmm.
still here, but the way we are reacting to it as a community is different now. But there's still a population that's still at high risk.
Yeah. I think about individuals that have multi generational families. You've got kids going back and forth to school all the time. You've got people, adults in the workplace, and then you've got elderly parents or grandparents in the household. There's so much more at high risk than anybody else. Or you may have someone else in the household who's got a severe autoimmune disorder, or somebody that's, uh, has an uncontrolled case of diabetes. There's just lots of scenarios where you have somebody that's vulnerable in the household, and really, and the chances of bringing it in are really high. So, the more I think we can do, um, to kind of minimize the risk, um, the better off we're going to be. I just wish we'd have gotten that herd immunity up. I think we ended up with about a 65% of the population got, the first two doses. After that, it just kind of fell off. We really needed 75 to 80% in order to really create some herd immunity like we did with measles. We can't even say that about measles anymore. We're having outbreaks of measles again. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Is that because people are not getting the measles vaccine?
yes, it is. Yep,
And that's the parents are not having their child getting that vaccine early. Is that correct?
that's correct.
But I thought you had to have that in order to go to school.
You're supposed to. But we have
Oh,
a
okay. The
lot
key word
of
is supposed
vaccine
to.
deniers
Yeah.
and a lot of people that are refusing the vaccines anymore. And there's always, in most school systems, an exception. Um, yeah. The last outbreak I heard of was in Ohio. I think there were like 27 kids. And measles is serious. Some people don't make it. And it's super, super contagious. And
Yes. And
you
off,
know, and it
off.
happened in a community in an area where a lot of people went, no, I'm not making my kid take vaccines. No, we're not doing that.
I
Yeah.
think it's really the number of vaccines because the number of vaccines that the child has to take at in this day and age, it's like, wow, it's not the same amount that they would have taken 30, 20. And so can you explain that? Why is the number of vaccines going up For
I thought it
babies.
was the same number of vaccines that we took when we was little. It's
No,
not. It's a measles, mumps, rubella.
it's a whole bunch more.
The vaccine schedule is
It's okay.
It's all right. He hear
This
the truth.
kitchen talk.
He hear the truth.
He want to get in the conversation too.
he's done so well. um, the vaccine schedule is heavier. We have new vaccines, like we've got rotavirus vaccines and all kinds of other vaccines that we didn't have. I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't have measles vaccines. We didn't have varicella or chickenpox vaccines. You know, they weren't around. We got the disease, and my mom's like, okay, if you get it, the other two, you better get it too, because I can't take off from work but once.
Yeah.
But and it is a heavy schedule, but it can be put in stages. I mean, there's a schedule for it, and I think it's important because the reason we have the vaccines are to prevent deadly diseases. Kids die from these things, and that's what we want to prevent. And it's not like, oh, I just get chickenpox and it's scratchy and little things for a while. Some people really get sick, and some people have serious health consequences. And so the vaccines are really to alleviate that. And we just have folks that just don't want to do vaccines anymore. So.
Wow. The rotavirus, I mean, hits kids and elderly hard.
Real hard.
It really, I mean, and again, like she was saying, people die from it. Mm-hmm. So, over the years, it's like, okay, let's come up with something that could prevent this. I mean, think about this, right? And no one wants to do that vaccine for that right there. But if they said tomorrow they got a vaccine for HIV, mm-hmm. They have a vaccine for herpes. Oh, people go out there and get that vaccine like it was candy.
Oh, a vaccine for cancer.
Yeah.
Everybody be running to get it, and they wouldn't be worried about, the government's trying to put microchips in me. I mean, some of the conspiracy theories are a little out there.
Yeah.
But I do think about that because there was such a, and I know the research for the vaccines have been here for a long time. I also think about why that same research have it, and I know to a certain degree it has. So don't beat me up on this one. But for cancer, for HPV, for HIV, I know we have made strides, but the same strides that they're making with the coronavirus, I'm like, okay, the same energy should have been put in some of these other areas that we needed help in too. What's that? Yeah, but the money.
But it's dollar bills, right? But also you got to look at it from the standpoint of what population gets affected the most, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. So like with the coronavirus, it was killing everybody. Mm-hmm. So it affected, multi-race, mm-hmm. age, gender. So of course we're going to put money into that. You don't put the same money in sickle cell because it only affects a specific, more likely a specific group. It's rare that you would see another group with this particular disease. Doesn't mean you won't, but it's rare, So it's about the dollar bill, but then also to the fact to the extent of cancer, cancer is so multifaceted.
And there are multiple viruses that are involved in a lot of the different cancers. So, I mean, we just don't even know enough about any of them, to be honest.
Yeah. So there, I mean, we're studying cancer every day and night, but cancer is something that it's just hard to wrap your head around. And mm-hmm. and like once you think you got one thing locked down, then you realize you don't have it. Like they do have a vaccine now for HPV.
Yes, they do.
They do. But now, but Are you, are the parents going to allow the kids to take the vaccine? That's one thing. You know,
A
uh,
lot of them aren't. A
you
lot of
know,
them are not. And that's really too bad because when they came out with the HPV vaccine, it was geared mostly towards young girls.
Mhm.
And I'm like, hey, guys, too, you know, but it took another 5 years before they offered the vaccine to young men. And so, it was like, yeah, go get a shot. Yeah, no, So, but it's unfortunate because it is really effective to prevent, different types of, cervical and other cancers.
yeah. But then let's go and put this disclaimer: just because they get it doesn't mean that you won't get cancer.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. It decreased your risk, but it's not a prevention. And so it's just like going back to the COVID vaccine.
Correct.
People felt
Right.
like if I get the vaccine, then I'm 100% immune and I should not get sick, right? And then they get COVID. See, this stuff don't work.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
now one time they was almost selling it like that.
I would agree with Lisa.
One time they were
The
almost selling it like
marketing
that.
of it was really pushed that way in terms
Yeah.
of, okay, you get the
Oh, you
vaccine,
get the vaccine, you
you
could come
won't get.
outside, you could
But
see your people, you could do all of this.
I
Because they
will
were
say
saying,
this. I will say this. Miss Tatum came on here and really opened our eyes on that in terms
Yeah.
of the vaccine is just going to help you to minimize the risk of you getting it. It doesn't mean that you're still not going to get it. Now, what the media was saying was way different.
Way different.
And I think that might have been to get as many people as possible to get the
But it,
vaccine.
it contributes to the mistrust though.
but that's go ahead, Miss Tatum.
Yeah,
You answer that one.
I was just going to say, remember, start from the very beginning. This is a virus that has never, ever been seen in the human population. Never. That first vaccine took care of that first iteration of that particular virus. It changed over time, and the vaccines changed over time. And so, while in the beginning it probably did have a better effect of preventing infection, but by the time we moved on 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 13, 16 months later, we've had, you know, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 different new variations of that virus. It doesn't work the same. And so I think what a lot of people struggle with is you expect to get answer. And that's it. It's black and white, and okay, we know it, we got it. But it's not like that because we were studying this as we went along because it kept changing as it went along. There was some information we had because of MERS and SARS, which are also coronaviruses. So we had a head start on getting that vaccine done. But, you know, it's not like this is some illness that's been around for, 200 years.
Yeah.
It literally just started 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think the thing too, while we're pushing everything else at the public, as far as all these conspiracies and things like that, and about the vaccine, I think what people need to understand and really hear what Ms. Tatum was saying in the sense of the viruses, just like we try to adapt, they adapt,
Mm-hmm.
they change.
Mm-hmm.
The virus wants to survive. So if it's like if you're giving it something and you don't give it a high enough dose and it doesn't kill it, what it's going to do is going to adapt so that
Mm-hmm.
now you give it that's not going to kill it. You got to give it something else. It's what we call resistance, right? It
Mm-hmm.
becomes resistant. It's like antibiotics. If you get a certain infection and the antibiotics, if you're not taking antibiotics and it doesn't kill it, that's truly the thing. What does not kill it will make it stronger.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
and so in pharmacy, that's why we have certain meds, what we call the big guns. and we don't give those to anybody at any time. We only pull them out when needed, because if the bacteria gets resistant to that, we don't have anything else to go to.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
You
then what
know,
is next? What
He's
is
not
the next
telling.
big gun? What's the next big gun? Because they went through the whole Greek alphabet giving these names to the viruses. So then when it gets to the point where it's uh beyond the big gun, what do we do?
go ahead, Miss Tatum.
I was just going to say, we do a new flu vaccine every year.
Mm.
Why would you think it's going to be any different than that? It's not equivalent to the flu at this point because we still are technically in the pandemic, but I think it will get to the point where it kind of functions or is like the flu. It may be a cyclical virus that we're just going to have to deal with. And we're always going to be looking what strain is most prevalent and try to tailor our vaccine to match that. Now, I'll be honest, we don't always do a great job of that. Some years the flu vaccine works really, really well. And other times, yeah, we guessed the wrong one. And it may be only 40 or 47% effective or
Mm-hmm.
53% effective and not 80 or, or 75. But, I anticipate that it's going to kind of go down that road, to be honest, because it's endemic. We're not going to get rid of COVID ever at this point. I think our politics, conflicted messaging,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think we conveyed a really good understanding of how we had to learn as we went along because this was a new virus. And so a lot of people don't trust a lot of it. So we're not going to get compliance like we would normally get. This is here to stay. It's not going anywhere.
But you know what's so crazy about that though?
I do.
They don't
Go ahead.
they don't trust the vaccine, but they'll trust and believe that, oh, they trying to microchip you. I mean, it's it's like you you choose to believe what you want to believe. That's just it, Because I'm some of the stuff, some of the conspiracies they believe. I'm like, really? You don't want to take the vaccine, but you believe that you're gonna
I
be a
still have
zombie?
it.
Okay, all right.
Yes. I
But
still have a
you know
brother
what?
out there who believes it. I mean, he swears. I'm like, the vaccine didn't have microchips in it. That's your phone. That's how they tracking you.
Yeah, they
Okay.
don't have to chip you down. They got your phone.
Exactly.
Listen,
Right.
I do.
go
I
ahead. I'm
do.
sorry.
I do think that at some point someone will find the cure. And I've always I think we are a very we have some smart individuals, and I always I'm like, man, there's somebody who knows something, who can create something, who can design something, who can put it. I'm just optimistic that way, that there is something out there to help stop, prevent, and keep us safe. The question is, are we cultivating that? Are we pushing that? Going back to what you said, Miss Tatum, are we putting the dollars behind that to ensure the next generation of scientists, pharmacists, you know, we could take it to the teachers, classroom, we could take it wherever that's really pushing this, these issues so that it's not political, but it's human centric. We want people to be safe. That's just me, you know.
We I think we all do, but I still think that there are some people that don't. um,
And it's sad. I was
it
listening
is
to
it
this.
is very sad. I mean, I guess because there is documented history of kind of misuse of different kinds of powers.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so it's hard to fully trust in something that's number one unknown. We don't nobody like I don't think I ever really understood where exactly coronavirus came from. It was like this, it was that, it was the other, you know, how, that, and then it's all of this other stuff, and then the political side of it, and this and that, and it just makes for such a recipe of, I just gotta trust God and nobody else. So do I get the vaccine? Do I not get the vaccine? And it's just so unknown. It's just
Mm-hmm.
so unknown.
And
And
what you're
then it's
saying is 100% true, Lisa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I the only problem I have is that we have people who know nothing about any of it having
Talking
the
aloud.
influence over people who know nothing about any of it. And they give their opinion and people follow it as if it's gospel truth. Because, again, I've said it before, we live in a society where truth is whatever's popular. It's not what's true. And you are right. We do have a history where people have misused their power and did experiments and things like that. But we also live in a day and time where people lie to you and say whatever they want to say for a view, for a
Mm-hmm.
click. You know what I mean? The guy jumps out of his airplane and crashes his airplane for views. You know, people do
Either that
crazy
or a
stuff.
vote.
You see what I'm saying? So we have people for views are saying stuff, spewing hate, spewing lies, of things they know nothing about, but at the end of the day, they know that their following will gravitate to it. They're going to get views. You know how the algorithm works. You not only want views, but you want people to view to the end.
Yeah.
So you got all this stuff going on, and that's part of what we have. So you're right that you have that hesitation, but the other side of that is we're blindly following people who know nothing. But Miss Tatum, she knows, she studied, she's gone to school, she works with it, and we'll hear her and still hesitate on doing it. But the moment someone says, "Oh, Leroy down the street," say, "Well, man, they chipping you when you put that," and we walk away believing that
Not Leroy.
because Leroy, he the gospel truth.
No, it was Nicki Minaj.
Oh God.
Yeah. I mean, and really, this has been such a challenge because, I mean, just in the Black community, we know we've been medically mistreated and still are in some respects in a
still
lot
are.
of places. Still are
Absolutely.
to this day. It's something we battle all the time. And so there is a level of mistrust. But I also know that we've made a lot of strides from where we were. I know where I can find information. I know where I can ask questions. Um, I don't have to blindly believe what's coming out of the TV or from the president or the governor or anybody else. I,
Wikipedia.
yeah, I have to like, yeah, I can counter that with more information. And so while not everybody is on their computer, at night trying to look up COVID and what's really happening, um, I think we have to learn to have some trusted sources for information. Um, because right now, the conversation earlier about the vaccine, they're looking for votes. That's it. It's not about, is this best for the community? Is this best for
Yeah.
individuals?
Correct.
You know, our Surgeon General got basically a letter of reprimand from the FDA because of a report that they put out that was totally misleading about the effect of the vaccine on um, young adults.
And
Um,
again, so I hear all of you, but where do I go? You know? So I want to find out the truth. But who is the truth? For the people who don't have a Miss
Dr. Scott,
Tatum.
that's correct. That's what I
No,
was just thinking.
honestly,
For the
honestly,
people
I
who don't
looked at
have a Miss Tatum.
They got kitchen talk. Go watch the video.
no, and Lisa, I look at, I go to CDC first, and I don't listen to all this stuff blindly because I remember when they put in a government person that was responsible for all the messaging, and he changed stuff, and that really upset me because it led to a lack of trust in what was coming out of that division. But I also know there are other individuals, like we have a county medical director who is a gem, just great. The former, um, who was it? The former Surgeon General. He's teaching at a university up in, I believe it's Connecticut or something. He's somewhere up north. There's just other people that we can go to and try to get information from. And let's see, I'll have to send you some. There are a number of different resources that are out there that really do give good information. There's a university out of Wisconsin that does something on infectious diseases. They have just a listserv that goes out. I get a report every day. So there are a number of places where people can go to try to look for different information. Um, and sometimes it's boring, but I'm good about scrolling down to the discussion. Okay, what does it mean? I don't want to look at everything in there. I mean, like, what does this mean for me? So, you know, I think it's worth trying to find different opinions. And I'll be honest, Facebook is not where I'm going to go. Okay.
Right.
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 It is not where I'm going to go.
Right.
I think it's important to vet your sources.
Yeah.
And one of the ways nowadays you have to vet your source, even if they're a medical practitioner, vet them from the standpoint of when you look, are they more political than medical?
Hmm.
Are they trying to be more famous than medical? Because when you understand those things, then you realize that they would say whatever because it's about it's about the vote, it's about the position, it's not about your health. So it's about the dollar bill, right?
Yep.
So you look at it from that standpoint, and I mean, like, you want to have somebody who they're in it because they want your best. When I go Dr. Ross, hey, I know he wants my best. You know what I mean? So I feel confident with listening to what he says because we're not in there talking about politics. We're not in there talking about, man, this last post I did or this video I did. No, he's talking about me and what I
Hmm.
need to do and
Hmm.
A1C and so with that, those are things that you want to look for and vet
Yeah.
vet those who give you that information.
That
And
your personal medical professional, whoever you go to, start there. Really start there and ask them. Like, okay, I'm struggling with this. Where are you getting your information?
yeah,
Johns Hopkins has a great
yes,
source. They're really good with the information. And in some places, I always look at how are they funded,
Mm.
where are they getting their money from, because that tells me a lot about what kind of messaging comes out. So
So
there's some stuff out there.
I
It's a
was
matter of
watching
whether you
a
want to dig.
I was watching a 60-minute special, and they talked about this particular drug to help cancer patients, right? And the drug was supposed to be a very good drug, does a lot of good to keep a lot of cancer patients alive. But the cost of the drug was crazy. So the people had to choose whether to continue to pay for the drug or die. And it's kind of where we are. Like, if you don't have the money, you can't get the drug, which means you know what's going to happen soon, and they have to come to terms with that. But if they have the money, then they can live a long, fruitful life. So it's like, and I'm going back to Magic Johnson in the same way. When he had his, issues, he was able to live longer because he had the resources. Now we're in a situation where, okay, we're giving it away. Mm. It's kind of, you can't win, you can't lose. it's, it's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, but that's a great point that you brought up, because I think COVID is on the same line as that. The other
Mhm.
thing with that is because we don't talk about it the same.
Mhm.
It's still out there, and people still get HIV/AIDS, but we
Mhm.
don't talk about it. And because we don't talk about it, it's almost like we think, oh, you can't get it, or Truvada, or whatever, you can go get it. It's as simple
Yeah,
as that, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's the same with COVID now. Because we don't talk about COVID, people feel like, oh, people are no longer dying from COVID, or people are no longer getting seriously ill from COVID, because we're not talking about it. And
Mm-hmm.
so we continue to go out, do what we do. Now, again, for those who had the vaccine and possibly had it, we build up some level of possible immunity. We really don't know the fullness, but we might have built up something to the fact that if we do get COVID again, it doesn't affect us the same as a person who's never had it, like Ms. Tatum was saying. But we got to remember the virus is changing, and because it's changing, just because you had it before doesn't mean you can't get it again, and doesn't mean that it can't put you on your back if you get it.
Now I said this before on this very show. We have to start putting dollars to our institutions that want to see us do well. So, we keep giving it to these other folks. I'm gonna just say, but I do think that we need to really start looking at how do we prepare for the next generation? How do we start getting our students, our young scholars in places where they can start researching and they can start developing um, ways to help our people live better lives?
Sure.
That's
So talk to them about genomic medicine.
that.
I mean, if we're not part of, and this is where we still struggle because of Tuskegee. I'm not
Yes,
going to be in any
yes,
experiments,
correct,
you
correct.
know, and yet when we don't participate, we never benefit from it. And medicine now is to a point where it's highly, highly specific,
Highly
and
specific.
it's based on our genome. And if we're
Mm-hmm.
not in that pool, we don't know how it works for us. I mean, 2% of the genomic studies have um, samples from minorities. About 2%. Are those
Woo.
medicines going to work for us? Maybe, maybe not.
I
We
think
won't
we
know.
need some trauma therapy, and then
Yeah,
that might help us move along.
yeah. I mean,
But
part of it is we just have to learn that there are groups of people we can trust. Like the researcher who took the lead with the COVID vaccine, young black woman. She was the
Yeah.
first one out there. They got the first vaccine out there.
Yeah.
We need to trust some of our folks
Yeah.
like that. We
Yeah.
really do.
It goes back to what we said before. They trust the fact that they say the man didn't go to the moon. He was in Arizona, but won't
well, he
trust.
been saying that though, Dr. Scott. He been saying he didn't go. So that's kind of hard now. He said he didn't go. Now, I don't know about that one. He said I didn't go.
Right.
So you can't beat that. I can't. That one is kind of hard. Now, if you would have asked me that, 3 months back, I was like, okay, you're right. But he has come out and said, no, I didn't go. It was a show. So that was kind of hard. That was kind
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. But it's a listen. It's a whole lot of other stuff we could deal with
It
yeah.
is.
where
Absolutely.
we believe what we want to believe.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I
Again,
just
So
want
I
us to
think we
stop
have to
shooting each
be a
other.
part of the process. Miss Tatum, you're right. We have to be a part of the process. The thing is, we give our dollars to help research other people. When it comes to fundraising, oh, we there. You know, $5, $10. They ask you, here you go, here, put some money in the bucket. But then we're just banking and hoping that what comes out of that research is going to benefit us, and we're not even part of the research.
but you got to be a part of the experiment.
Correct. So I think again,
But
we gotta
and
be,
and
we
there you
gotta
go.
be,
We don't want to be a part of the experiment.
we gotta be. When I mean a part of the experiment, from beginning to end, we gotta be at the forefront. The creators, the designers, the people who market it, because I think that's where people will say, "Okay, I trust it."
Yeah, yeah. We've got to be at the table from the very beginning.
We're not at the table enough.
Well, with the COVID vaccine, we were, and
Well,
people still like,
it's
I don't
hard
trust.
because it said, "Oh, it's one," and she was the first one to do it. Now I trust it, but still, oh, it's one, and most people don't even know that she was the one who started this whole. Okay, I found something. This should work, right? A lot of people still don't know that, so they don't
Do
trust
they
it
not
because
know it, or they
again,
don't want to believe it?
both, both,
Some of them don't know it.
Yeah.
both. But if we were the ones to start it from the beginning, okay, this came out of Florida A&M University, the labs there, the marketing there. Well, you know, I'm a optimist. The labs there, the people there. We had people who researched it. We had people who were in the study. This was a joint effort by a number of HBCUs. Okay, you may, we might be moving with that a little bit more, Dr. Scott, than
Yeah, I got you, but I'm gonna give you this one. So, I used to work in a small drugstore, Economy Drugs, um, with Alexis, right? And people would come in there for questions, but they wouldn't come get their medication, and they felt like because he was a small store,
yeah,
they felt like the other place medications were fresher.
yep,
But now she's right there in the community,
yep.
giving you what you need. She's there helping you, answering your questions, all those different things that you would need. But people will pass right by Economy Drugs because, in their mind, medication is fresher.
Listen,
Now, I'm saying
Willie
all that
Lynch
to
did
say,
a number on us. That's all I got
yeah,
to say.
I'm saying all that to say, you saying if it was a number of HBCUs, blah 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 blah, we as a people would still say I ain't trusting it because that came from an HBCU.
But we got to change that. We have to change the narrative.
Okay,
We got to change the narrative.
no, and you're right, we got to change it, but at some point in time, it starts with changing in us.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
Again, trauma therapy. The help
On a
change
mass
the
level.
mindset.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
trauma therapy. And it's a passed down generational trauma.
It is.
yeah.
I wasn't never a slave, but oh my God, do I not
It did a
feel
number.
it still?
But
It
but
did a number.
because see now you're dealing with epigenetics.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're dealing with something.
I
You're dealing
can't.
with something
I can't.
totally different. You know, and I know we got to go, but just understand this: your chromosomes, your genes, they tell your, you know, what proteins to make, right? But the environment, the stress that you're in, tells it how much of that hormone to make. So certain stresses can be passed down from one generation to another genetically because the upregulation of that particular hormone in the parents will now pass to the children. certain stresses, certain things that will happen will cause a trigger in a child who's never experienced that. It's crazy how I know a young man who didn't grow up around his dad, but his dad liked to put his hands on his hips. And so one day he's walking around the house putting his hands on his hips, like, dude, where you get that from? But it's certain things we don't think about passed down. We are the sum total of our mother, our father, our grandparents, their experiences, our experiences. We are the sum total of that.
Yeah.
And and so we have to understand that there's a process that has to take place. But we as a people, we got to be able to communicate better. I'll say it like that. We don't communicate well from one generation to the next.
And
I agree.
there's a lot of work we got to do because, quite frankly, our environment right now is triggering all of that old trauma. We're not teaching African American history. Oh, the slaves were fine because they got skills. All of that's coming back up, and all of it's coming back. I mean, so you're talking generational trauma, and it
Yeah.
is, and we're
It
fighting
is.
it every day.
It
And the
is.
crazy thing about it is now you have people who look like us in agreement with that in this younger generation.
True.
Well, not just younger. I gotta say that it's,
Yeah.
it's some of these older folks too that they holding a flag, they're holding a sign, they putting their money out there just so that they could get the money and the power.
Well, and our Surgeon General has got brown skin. Okay.
I'm telling
What
you,
can I
man.
say?
Lord. Listen, this is, you know what? I love it when Miss Tatum come on. She
Every time.
make sure we keep well informed, well informed. So I guess our thing is just to kind of take this thing and personally talk to your healthcare provider.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have one, find one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if our like what's the place? Just our general health centers, clinics.
We've got two federally qualified health centers in Tallahassee.
Okay.
One's Bond Community Health Center, and the
Mm-hmm.
other one's Neighborhood Medical Center. Both
Okay.
of those places are there to serve everybody that
Yeah.
walks in the door. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't have to have a credit card or money to put on the table. You
Yeah.
got to register with them, but they're there to help you. They really
Yeah.
are. So
We
don't let
do.
that be a roadblock.
We got to start being number one our own advocates. I mean, we just
Yes.
we
Yeah.
really do. We got to start being our own advocates, and then from there move on to the next stage. And I agree. The more of these type of conversations that we have, it'll help break down some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, again, really, it's trauma therapy is really what we need as a people to kind of get past some of these things. Something well, not get past some of these things to deal with our trauma and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So when you
And
go
In
put them
positive ways. Yeah.
as much as or as far as we believe we have come, we still have
A long
a
way to
ways to go in some aspects.
Honestly, we've lost ground over the last 4 6 years. We
I
have
could see that.
totally lost ground. I mean, we've lost voting rights. Well, let me just put it out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are lots of challenges and attacks on us as people, as brown people, as black people. And our healthcare is part of that. You
yes,
know,
it
it
is.
really is. And so um, I'm telling students all the time at school, make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you're registered to vote. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, Miss Tatum. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna vote in Orlando. I'm like, okay, but are you planning to go to Orlando? Come on, no, I need you to vote because um, we are under attack right now.
Yeah.
Our
The
whole being,
situation we're in is because they didn't vote.
yeah. So I'm hoping, and it's, you know, we're gonna fight the good fight. And I guess I'm gonna have to get out here 65 plus and over and still go back out and march for stuff. I don't, I did it once. I guess
And
I'm
you
gonna
know
go back
what,
out there.
Miss Tatum, it's a continuous march.
It
And
is.
It
and
is.
there's something I do want to say is not just go vote, but we need to vote the right way. Because there's
Yes.
people that are voting and they voted who we have now for governor, uh, for the not this current president, the last president who got us in this situation because he threw out systems that we had in place to ensure that we don't get sick. I mean, it it's just that bad. We can't vote for people who don't, as Dr. Scott you said earlier, people who have no idea but
Mhm.
have the loudest mouth. So we got to take the voting real serious. And Lisa, every show come back to this one word:
It
It
vote.
does.
go vote. It
It
does.
does.
Every
It's so
show
important.
always
It
comes
does.
back to the vote.
And I agree. We do have to vote, and whatever the right way is, I can't say I trust it all, but
It,
I do
it's
my part.
yeah. It's
I
never
just
perfect.
I just don't believe. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that on Kitchen Talk.
I will say that we have to galvanize and start selecting people who we know have the best interest of the people and vote for them. We got to uplift them. We can't just wait for them to say, okay, you have this person and you have this person. We have to come and say, you know what? Man, Dr. Scott has been working on this for a number of years. He showed himself approved. He's done work that really is going to not only galvanize the community, but push us in the right direction. This is who we need to push, and we need to tell as many people as possible this is a proven track record. This
Hmm.
is why we need to vote for him.
But
Well,
usually those workers like that don't want to be in office.
yeah, and I was gonna say, don't use me as an example for that. I don't want people thinking I'm
Yeah, they
trying to
don't.
run.
The people that really that we could get behind, that really, you know what, that are really working, that are in the fight, they don't want to be in office. It's the
I
ones that
disagree. I
some.
think
I'm not saying all. I'm
Well,
just saying.
I
And then
think one
and
of
then
the reasons
there's
why that's an
a
issue, Lisa, is because of the money. Some of
I
the
was,
people who
it's a
can do
change.
it,
It's a change come over people when they get that kind of power.
listen,
mm,
I'm with you, Lisa, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of people who you can get behind and say, oh, you know what, I think they'll be a good candidate. They don't want to do what people do once they get in office. Politics is a dirty job.
mm,
Hmm.
You can't
It
put
is.
on dress shoes. They might look like dress shoes, but they got to be boots,
Hmm.
and they got to be come up to at least your knees.
I think
well,
you need hip
I was
waders anymore.
I was
They just get messy.
I would
They
say
get
this.
messy. Folks, we done been behind.
But
And
the
then
thing
you
of it is
you get
you
in there and
gotta,
you get messy.
yeah, but
I
you gotta trust at some level,
oh
you
Correct.
know.
gosh.
And then
And
too, everybody got to put some boots on. It can't
yeah,
just be that one person. We all got to put our boots on to support that person and say, okay, and keep him or her. I got to put her, keep
accountable.
her accountable. Correct.
Yes.
Just because I voted you in, don't mean the job is over. You said you was going to do X. We need to see the results of X.
Yeah, and you
Don't
need
get
a
in and
time.
act
You need a
funny and
time
act
limit.
new, brand new on us. You, and that's again why it should be vested. Because if it's a vested person, we know when you get in there, you're not gonna act brand new. We do it every Sunday. You go to the church, Pastor man. Come on. I'm not gonna go there tonight. I'm
Please,
gonna be good
please
tonight.
don't,
I'm
please
not.
don't, because again, don't overgeneralize.
I'm not. I'm not.
Well,
Thank
you're
you, God.
saying you're not, but you just did.
No, I
Yeah,
stopped. I stopped.
yeah.
No, you did.
We gotta do better. That's a final word for me. We gotta do better.
So one thing I'll leave you with, friends, is FAMU, one of their strategic goals is to achieve R1 research status as one of the Carnegie classification, so that we are a highly, I don't know, I forget what it is, but that's the highest level. So
Yeah.
people are really, really, really working to get there. So
March to
I'm
100.
really glad to hear that.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
listen, listen. I've been in that boot stuff. That's a whole nother battle right there.
All right. Well, let's see.
That's a whole nother battle right there.
This has been Kitchen Talk CTC.
Conversations that cook.
Conversation that cook.
If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you will never miss another show. If you're watching us on Facebook, hit the like button. Make sure you turn it on your notifications so you know when we come on. It's every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They really do cook, and these folks right here was about to take us some totally up. And Miss Tatum, you just joined right in on the bandwagon with them. So we gotta have you back, Miss Tatum, when we talk about voting.
All right, I'm
We're
there.
gonna have you come back. So y'all can I'm gonna try not to have a whole rant about how I just don't trust that whole White House. Just burn the whole thing down. Let's start all over again or
But
something. I don't know.
Lisa, let me say this before you go. If we burn the White House down, what do we go to?
I was going to say, you better have one in the back.
And if we go to that, do you want to be a part of that?
I don't know.
Because if the current governor of Florida has his way, you won't have a regular White House anymore.
I know.
And we built the White House, so we don't need to burn it.
Yeah.
We just need to take ownership. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
See, this why I don't see y'all. Listen, come back next week. Hopefully they'll be nicer.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Miss Tatum. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you, friends. We'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Let's talk, let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Let's talk, let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Kitchen talk, let's talk.